like to welcome you to the Odra, Cooking, and Fine Wines channel. If you have been looking for information on how to cook ribs on Pellet Grill Fast, better, and more, we have our top 4 videos that we have researched and want to present to you. But first off, there are links at the bottom in the description of this video that will take you to the page that you see here, if you are looking for some amazing pellet grills on Amazon. Just briefly take a look here as we scroll. Also, there are links below in the video description that will take you to the page that you see here, if you are looking for deliveries of fresh meats and groceries from Amazon as well. Just briefly take a look here as we briefly scroll as well. Also, be sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button for us as well. But now, let's get to our selection of videos that we have researched for how to cook ribs on Pellet Grill Fast, better, and more. Video number 1 is from the GreenhornBBQbeer YouTube channel. Video number 2 is from the GreenhornBBQ YouTube channel. Video number 3 is from the Collard Valley Cooks YouTube channel. Video number 4 is from the American Smoke YouTube channel.
Video
number 1 is from the GreenhornBBQbeer YouTube channel.
Traeger smoker. We cooked them for 6 hours. We used Uncle Steve's shake. They came out fantastic. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Todd, and today we got some beef short ribs here cooking on the smoker for 6 hours. I'm telling you, these things are fantastic, loaded with flavor. It's probably my favorite cut of meat next to a brisket or prime rib. Beef short ribs, oh my God, it's the way to go. Now Sassy was working really hard today. She came up with a lot of the technique that we used, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. She also did some fantastic side dishes, and we're going to plate this up at the end and show you how beautiful these short ribs came out. And all we're asking, folks, is you take a minute to smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. All right, guys, so it was really easy to season up these beef short ribs. What we did is we took them out of the package, patted them dry, then we took some kosher salt and dusted them on both sides. Now on the bone side, we don't really have to worry about that much because they're going to end up sitting in the pan, but we definitely covered all the other sides. Then we took some good old Uncle Steve's shake and we used some of his competition cow powder. Now that competition cow powder, besides having some great seasonings for beef, has a fantastic color and the ability to create a bark, and that's why we chose this. So we're going to leave a link down in the description, guys, so get you some. So we dusted those up, set them aside, and then I went outside and we prepared the Traeger. Now I'm using just a basic competition blend of pellets, not any one particular kind of species of pellet wood, but what I did make sure is I did a quick maintenance on the pellet smoker. I vacuumed it out, I put in a new drip pan foil, just so that I don't get any residual taste of the pork that we just cooked in it last week. And then I set it for 275. Really, what I did is I set it for 250, and I know the way my Traeger performs, it actually goes up to an average of about 270 to 280, even though I set it for 250. So it's important to know your pit. I guess that's where the saying goes, hey, pit master, you know your pit, therefore you're a pit master. So once the Traeger was up and running and it stabilized with a good temperature, we went ahead and put those beef short ribs on, and we went bone down, and we put them right on the grate. Now make sure your grate is nice and clean, and you don't want any kind of flavors from last thing you cooked on there spoiling this. And this was about 11 a.m. So I closed it down, and I went off to change the oil in Sassy's Vespa. 2 hours later, I came back and I did a bark test. I wanted to make sure that bark has set in and doesn't scratch off easily or at all. And then I sprayed it with beef broth. Beef broth to give it that beautiful, wonderful flavor, because these are beef short ribs. So folks, it's really important to spritz because the smoke will stick to moisture more than when it's dry. Did I say that right? I think I said that right. But the trick, and I don't know if I'm sure you figured it out by now, but the more you spritz, once that bark is set up, the better bark you're going to get, because that smoke wants to stick to the moisture. So there you go, a free piece of advice. I was also checking the temperature with my ThermoPro TP19. Guys, I'm going to leave a link down in the description to one of these. Definitely go get you one. This one's mine. I'm not going to give it out, but it's a fantastic instant read thermometer. And I'm looking for temperature right around 160, 170, and I think I found that. And I'm not going for temperature at this point. I just want to make sure that bark is set up. I'm starting to get the color that I want, and I'm at least well above 150. So I guess I'm going for temperature somewhat. So once I was satisfied with the way these beef ribs were headed, that they were in the good direction that I wanted them to go, Sassy prepared a bed of some very aromatic and hearty vegetables in a pan. So I think she took some white onion, chopped them up, some carrots, various types of carrots. What else, babe?
Just fancy carrots.
So basically fancy carrots and onions, put them in a bed in a pan, and then we poured in what broth we had remaining into it, and we put the beef ribs right on top of that, almost just like how they come off the smoker, right onto that bed. And then we covered it up, put it back on the smoker, and we must have went for at least another 2 hours. So once it started getting to that probe tenderness that I was really looking for, I pulled the foil off to try to get some more smoke and just kind of let now the meat kind of tighten back up, almost like you do some ribs. You know, you foil them and then you pull them out and you glaze them. But in this case, I was just taking the foil off, and I just wanted some of that residual moisture to go ahead and let it escape and maybe dry out some of those veggies. I don't want to have boiled ribs, but I definitely want to keep the moisture in. So after about, I think probably about another hour and a half uncovered, then I probed them again, and man, they were soft. So I covered them again, brought them in, put them in the oven to let them rest. They've been resting for about an hour. Now I haven't seen them since I put them away to rest, but let me tell you, the bark was fantastic. It had good pull. Oh my God. Plus Sassy's mashed potatoes and broccoli. Oh, it's just gonna be a perfect plate. It's gonna be hearty, perfect wintertime dinner. So let's check it out. All right, guys, as you can see, that bark is beautiful. It is perfectly covered in that Uncle Steve's shake. It's got the right amount of smoke on there. Guys, you can only get bark like that from smoking beef short ribs for a long time. That was awesome. The flavor of beef is almost to the point of overpowering, but stops short of that. It's just a fantastic journey into beefiness. I don't know how else to describe it. Then you got a little bit of this nice fresh broccoli. Cleans your palate. And then you go back in for some more beef. And then the potatoes. Sassy knocked it out of the park with those. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today, folks. Thanks for sticking around, watching it to the very end. It's really important also that you guys hit us up in the description, leave your comments, let us know, hey, what would you like to see us cook next? Give us some ideas, folks. I'm here for you, Sassy and me, we're here for you guys. We want to create a channel that's got some really cool cooks and stuff like that. So down in the description, guys, hit us up, tell us what you think. All right, guys, see you later.
Video number 2 is from the Boomer Barbecue
Hey guys, welcome
YouTube
to another
channel.
episode of Boomer Barbecue. Today, I'm going to introduce you to my new pellet grill. And today is Ribs Day. We're going to do all kinds of ribs. And we're going to start a new series. It's called Barbecuing on a Budget. So let's get started. I'm back. I took a little hiatus from making videos. It's been a couple of months. I have been barbecuing, but videos are a lot of work, and it was kind of taking away my enjoyment of barbecuing, so I decided to take a hiatus from it. But I'm back, and in that time frame I bought this pellet grill. Originally I wanted the Expert Grill model from Walmart. It's a bit bigger. It's around the same price. The Walmart version was $297. This one is $292, but this came in with free shipping and handling, whereas the Walmart version wanted an extra $50, and I was like, I don't want to pay the extra $50. And now I'm kicking myself in the butt for not doing it, because this one is not a big one. It's a small grill. It's a lot less space than I thought it was going to have. The other one was definitely bigger. It had a lot more amenities. It had Bluetooth. The fire pot has a latch where you can unlatch it and pull it out to empty it. It's got a lot more cooking space. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Pit Boss is a very good product. It's done me well so far. I've done a lot of pork on it, and I did a nice 8.5 pound brisket, which came out probably the best I've ever done, besides my very first one. And I learned a very important thing, that constant temperatures are very important. So I get a bit lazy when I'm doing my offset, and I don't pay attention to the fire as much as I should. So it tends to give you a roller coaster of temperatures, and I think that's been a big problem in my briskets. So this taught me a bit of a lesson. So, but I want to use this one today, and we're going to be doing a lot of ribs. I decided to start a series called Barbecuing on a Budget, because I watch a lot of YouTube channels, and I see a lot of these guys throwing a lot of money around. They buy these expensive grills, and they buy a lot of meat. Like, they'll buy 4 chuck roasts, or they buy a lot of meat. And for those of us on a budget, we can't afford all that kind of stuff. We get what we can, and I do okay. I mean, I spend a good amount of money on barbecue because I really enjoy it. But I try to save where I can. So I was going to do an experiment with a select brisket, because there's one YouTuber I watched did a choice brisket, where he normally does only prime brisket, and then did a choice one, and his flat came out a bit dry, and he blamed it on the grade of the meat. Now, I've mostly done choice, and I've had very, very good results with choice, and I've done a couple of primes where the results weren't as good. And I'm not blaming it on the meat, I'm blaming that on myself. You cannot blame your pit. You can't blame it on the grade of meat. You have to blame yourself. You're the pit master. You make the decisions. You have to do what you got to do to get that quality. And no matter what it is you need to do, if you feel you need to inject it, or you need to put tallow on it, or whatever it is you feel that you need to do to get that great piece of barbecue, it's all well and good. This guy referred to it as cheating. I don't believe that it's cheating at all. So, I mean, we're not making competition meats here, but you do what you got to do. I mean, it's for your purpose, when you want to eat it, how you want it to taste, how juicy you want it. And if you decide you want to save a little money by getting a select, and it works, more power to you. So I still, in the future, I'm going to do that. Unfortunately, at Walmart, you have to call them up and order your brisket, and they have it waiting for you, which I'm not too happy about. I would like to pick my own brisket, but it's for an experiment, and we'll do what we got to do. So I want to see if I can take a select brisket, and make it nice and juicy without too much work. I'm just going to trim it, season it, make sure it stays well spritzed through the entire cook, and constant temperatures, and we'll see what we come up with. So for now, while I was there at Walmart and I couldn't get the brisket, I saw a whole bunch of meat that I said, oh, look at this, it's inexpensive. It's beef ribs, it was chuck riblets. I found veal breast, which I've been dying to try some veal ribs. And then I bought a rack of spare ribs. So I got pretty decent prices on all of them, and I will put the pictures up of what I'm cooking, the labels and whatnot, shortly after this little monologue here. and you'll see what it was, the price I paid, and what it looks like. And we're going to see how it comes out. So like I said, we're going to be running on a budget here. I mean, I bought a good amount of meat. I spent about $60 on all the meat I bought, and I'm not cooking it all up, so I've saved some of it. But I figured for the price, the beef ribs I got for $2.24, the chuck riblets I got for $2.96. I got $1.99 for the pork ribs, and the lamb breast was a little more. It was like $3.59 or something in that range, or maybe $3.90 something. So all in all, I still think it was, good pricing, because with the meats, the prices of meat the way they are these days, they're way up because our wonderful president, and let me just say, let's go Brandon, and our lovely president has kind of screwed up our economy, so we got to do what we got to do to still enjoy that barbecue. So all right, so I've got everything seasoned. I trimmed what I had to. We're going to try to fit it on the grill, so let's get to it. Okay, I didn't want this to be too long of a video. I did enough talking, so I loaded it up. As you can see, it's completely full. Back here are the beef ribs. There's 2 slabs all the way up to the back. These are the chuck riblets here. This is the spare ribs on top. On the side here are the 2 lamb riblets, and I had a big, I guess, brisket bone on the ribs, and then some of the trimmings, so I'm not letting anything go to waste. Everything's going to get cooked. I'm going to do it at 180. I'm going to close this down now. We're going to run it at 180 for 3 hours, okay? I'm going by Harry Sue. He thinks that the 3-2-1 method is not good if you're doing 225 all the way through. He thinks you overcook them. So we're going to run it at 180. It's going to cook slower, hopefully get more smoke. And the smoke flavor is not quite the same as on the offset, so we're going to try to get what we can. I know we'll get plenty of color, and there'll be some smoke flavor. As you can see now, it's starting to smoke. So every time it drops new pellets, and for them to start burning, it puts out a good amount of smoke. But it's not constant smoke. It's not like you would get from actual logs and whatnot. But we're going to do the best we can. So everything's in. I'm going to run it for about 3 hours. I'm going to come in after the 2nd hour, spritz anything that needs to be spritzed, probably twice, and then after 3 hours I'm going to wrap it. We're going to let it cook for 2 hours, and then we're going to see how everything is. We'll temp it, see if it needs to go any further, and then we'll go from there. And we're going to try to make these as tender as possible, try to keep them juicy. It looks to be a lot of these are back ribs, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Like I said, if you're on a budget and you got to do back ribs instead of a big monster thing of beef ribs, which is not cheap these days, it's $7-8 a pound. So, but we're going to see how these turn out, and that's that's going to be the whole point of this. So you don't have to be a big spender to make decent barbecue. If you know what you're doing, if you take your time and you do the right stuff, you can get any grade or cut of meat and you can make it good. Is it cheating? I don't think so. Okay, so for you YouTubers out there that like to spend that money and throw your cash around and try to impress people, I'm going to impress people by not throwing my cash around. And I believe that all of this barbecue, even though I got it jam-packed in there, it's all going to come out good. So that's my wish, and I'm going to stick to it. And I'll be back in a couple hours to show you how things are looking, and to spritz and all that. So we'll be back in a couple. Catch you then. Okay, the 2 hour marks has elapsed. Now, I don't know if you can see, but down there on the controller it says it's 180 degrees going on. And this thermometer says it's only like 120, 125. Obviously they don't put very good thermometers on here, because I put the straight up probe in there and I could get a different temperature besides. So I'm gonna have to replace that thermometer, unfortunately, but because it's pretty useless. Anyway, let's take a look at the meat, see how it's going. Alrighty, looks like it's coming along nicely. You can see it has a nice red hue to it. Let me back this one up a bit so we can spritz this bottom one. Nice. Nice. Some really nice color on this meat. Very red, as you can see. Help collect more smoke with the moisture on it. Alright, I think that'll do. Be back in about a half an hour. Spritz it again. But I think I'll wait till it's time to wrap another hour or so. And we'll see you then, about an hour. Okay guys, as luck would have it, it got dark and I wasn't able to show you the wrap or anything because things were going a little, I had a lot of meat in there, so I needed higher temperatures, so I set them higher, and then when I came out to check it, they really needed to be wrapped, so didn't have my cam on me. And so now they should be finished. It's been 6 hours now, so it's 2 hours wrapped. So I'm going to check these out first. This should be the, oh, look at the pullback on those. Oh, they look very interesting. Might be a little overly cooked. Alright. This one back here. Probably should have cut them from the back. As you can see, it looks pretty juicy. Take a taste. It's not bad at all. Probably overcooked, but tender all the same. Not, at least, not at all dried. I'm at the edge of one bone here. These are the chucked riblets. See, very juicy. All right. I'm going to check the beef ribs next. I'll be right back with those. Okay, this is one of the beef ribs. There was 2 of those. As you can see, they look nice and done and nice and tender. Let's try and cut into these. Cut one side of the bone. These bones are huge. So Sorry for the light. Apparently my knife is not as good as it could be, but let's see. Also looks nice and juicy. Pulls apart nice and easy. Very hot, but yes, very tender. Okay, we're gonna move to the lamb ribs now. Whoops, okay. Here are the lamb ribs. They look very nicely done. I'm gonna try to keep working with the light here. Nice bone fold here. You can see. Trying to keep this. You're gonna have to excuse the lighting. I'm not used to working in the dark, but very jiggly. Can't wait to try those. Very nice. Very tender, obviously, and juicy. Okay, next on to the pork ribs. Okay, now we're going to open up the pork ribs. See how they came out. They look phenomenal. You can see all nice and tender. Here. Very nice and tender. Yeah, they're pulled apart. Even the little pieces of meat on the side. Okay. Alright. That's going to wrap it up, guys. As you can see, everything came out nice and tender and well done and juicy. And just goes to show you don't have to spend a lot of money to get decent barbecue if you know how to use your pit. So, please excuse the lighting conditions. I should have done this a little earlier in the day, but it is what it is. But I think I proved my point. So, and as I mentioned before, you saw which cuts of meat that I got from Walmart. If you want to look them up, I'll show you the pictures at the end, at the end of the video. Alrighty, so. Take care, guys. Hopefully we'll see you soon with a select brisket experiment. And don't forget to keep on smoking.
Video number 3 is from the Collard Valley Folks YouTube channel.
Delicious.
So we need to eat some ribs. Hey guys, we are making ribs today. Alright, so I'm going to clean these ribs up a little. I usually take a spoon and I get the fat loose. I scrape it and get it loose. And then I peel this membrane off the back. And usually if you don't get in a big hurry, you can peel it all off. And you can use your left or your right hand. Whichever one you want. Okay, a lot of people with their ribs, they'll trim off all this extra stuff on the end. Of course, a lot of people are in competitions and stuff. I'm not. I'm just a guy cooking some ribs. All right, we have a rib rub that we like to use. It has kosher salt, ground pepper. We use the big pepper, the, what do you call it, Tammy? The
Coarse ground
pepper. Brown sugar, paprika, cayenne, and onion powder. So we'll put the recipe for that on here. But that's our rib rub we like to use.
If y'all wonder what the noise is, we're over here cooking more pork and cabbage. So,
and I don't put a whole ton of this on here because it's a little spicy, and Tammy don't like stuff really
yeah, I don't.
spicy. So I just make sure that I get it all covered good.
Because he loves his woman of 20 years. Yesterday was our anniversary, y'all.
We don't want to light her up. All right, I got my ribs. These are baby backs. Got them all rubbed the way I like. We're going to let them warm up, you know, about to room temperature. And I'm going to get the grill started. And what the video really is about the grill. I want to show you guys the grill. I've had it about a year. I really like it. It's been working great. So we'll look at that. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. I have some tongs. I guess I can use those. I'm going to put one rack down here, 2 racks up there. I want to try to put one down here that's easy to get in there. So I'm going to put this smaller one down here on the bottom. Right there. Okay, and I'm going to put these 2 bigger ones at the top. Actually, that's going to be touching the sides. So what I may do is go with the 3 racks. I've never done the 3 racks. No, I can get it on there. It'll be all right. Put this one. Okay, so I got them in here. I'm going to get it shut. Get 250, which really is not going to be 250. It's going to fluctuate. But I'm setting it at 250, so the hot part down here and then the cooler part up here, there's really not much difference between where those ribs are. So that's the thing I like about this grill, is at this point, I can leave it alone. All I have to do the rest of the time is check on the pellets, you know, and that'll be enough pellets. And sometimes when the pellets run through the auger, you'll start getting a hole there and you have to kind of fill it in. So I just have to check on that every few, you know, after about a couple of hours. But I don't have to do anything else. Okay, it's 4:30. I think we started about 12:30, 12:45, somewhere in there. Okay, so I'm going to swap out the ones on the bottom. They got about an hour left to cook, by my estimation. And these, I'm going to swap out with, let's swap them out with these. Uh-oh, that was a bad move. Stacking that on there. I think I may leave this one up here. No, I'll move it down there. Because I can. There you go. Between them.
They look good to me.
Yep. Okay, it's about 6 o'clock. So our ribs have been in there right at 6 hours, I think. Three. back rib racks. We'll let those rest a little bit. The one that we had on the bottom, you can see it's kind of burnt where that other grease was falling on it. I'm sure it'll probably be done more than the other two. Let's go eat.
All right, we've made some potato salad, some deviled eggs with smoked paprika. I had to boil the eggs for the potato salad, so why not just devil some too? And we had barbecue beans last night, so I'm not warming those up. We're just going to have ribs, potatoes, and eggs. Yummy.
We have been very happy with this smoker. It has worked really well. You don't have to mess with it. It stays pretty much on temp like it's supposed to. And it just does a really good job. Pit Boss whiskey barrel smoker. So
Good job, Walmart.
yeah, she got, like I said, she got it. It was a floor display.
Yeah, they had just put a sign on it, 50% off, when I was walking through the Walmart, and I got it.
Yep.
That quick.
Yep. So we lucked out. But we have really liked it. It does a really good job. It doesn't get stuff too smoky. And it cooks on temp like it ought to.
It's some good eating. Now, what pellet flavor did you do? Isn't it the applewood that I like the best?
The one that I always use is Competition, because Competition blend has, you know, some, it's not like the hickory flavor. I think it does have apple in it. I have to go look and see what
So
it
it's
is.
a blend of
It's
stuff.
it's their
Oh, good.
Competition blend, Pit Boss
Good.
Competition blend. We have just enough barbecue sauce left.
Chris made barbecue sauce yesterday, so he's got some of his barbecue sauce left too. Have a good supper, y'all. All right, here's one of the ribs. He's going to lay me up another one.
Look how juicy those are. That's some juicy, hot ribs. Tammy's going to taste it.
If I have to. Why do I have to taste it? Why can't you taste it?
You're the professional taster.
Yes, I am. I got some pretty good taste buds.
Ready?
I like mine without sauce, without barbecue. I like just enough of this rib rub on there that he puts on there to not get them so too spicy for me. And this is how I like my ribs. Perfect. Delicious.
So we need to eat some ribs. Thanks for watching Nichols Retirement Empire. And
Collard Valley Cooks.
if you
Where
have
we
any,
cook like Chris did.
where Chris cooks like Chris cooks.
And Pit Boss.
And
Oh my Lord, I love you, Pit Boss.
if you have any questions about that smoker, go ahead and ask them on the comments. Because like I said, they did not have, and to my knowledge, still do not have an owner's manual for the whiskey barrel smoker. Bye.
Bye.
Video number 4 is from the American Smoke YouTube channel.
Hey, what's up everybody? Zach here today with Review Empire, celebrating the 4th of July weekend with a delicious rack of baby backs. And if you're not familiar with cooking baby backs, we'll show you how to do that today, get it done right on that Pit Boss. So first things first, you've got a nice slab of baby back ribs. Baby back ribs are shorter and they are a little more meaty proportionally as opposed to spare ribs. And a lot of times people prefer these over spare ribs. Some people prefer spare ribs over baby backs. Me, put it on my plate, and I'll eat it. You know what I'm saying? You're probably just like me. If you haven't already, hit that like button for me. Consider becoming a subscriber to my channel. I'm just home today. Me and my 2 baby girls, they're in there watching TV. They're probably gonna chime in here in a little while, so don't be too surprised by that if you hear them hollering, "What you doing, Dada?" or something like that. So for starters, you want to have your ribs bone side up, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a trusty old paper towel. Just like spare ribs, these baby backs have got a membrane that coats the back side of these ribs, which is gonna act as a barrier to smoke, a barrier to your seasoning, and they're gonna make for a tough bite if you do not remove it. It's not a big deal to remove it, so we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. All you do is you just sort of peel that back, get that membrane caught up underneath your paper towel, and if you have been good and the 4th of July gods decide to shine on you, like what's happening right now, oh my gosh, it's the best feeling in the world. Best feeling in the world. Top 20 for sure. When this membrane comes off, just like it's doing right now. All in nice one big piece. You don't have to sit there and work to get all the little individual pieces off. But do your best to get as much of it off as possible, because every rib counts, every rib is covered in it, and every rib needs full seasoning. What I did to prepare these before I put them on the chopping board here was I took them out of my packaging and I rinsed them with cold water. Maybe that doesn't make a big difference, I'm not sure, but what I feel like I've noticed that there's a cleaner taste to the meat, washing all that blood off the outside, because there's not a lot of blood in the meat. It's more stuff that bleeds out over time and then just sticks to the outside. So I try to get that off of there. You can, do what you want to do. I just wash it with cold water, and then I pat it dry with a paper towel. So we've got our membrane off and looking good. Next phase in my seasoning process, and you'll develop your own, as long as you've got a decent rub and some salt, pepper, they're gonna be good if you cook them right. If the texture is there, it's hard to make a bad rib. It really is. Don't get me wrong, there's people that can do it, but we're not gonna be those people. We're gonna have lips smacking. Lips smacking. I do a pretty generous black pepper. You wanna get all those surfaces coated. Salt. I use pink Himalayan. It's a bigger grit salt. No in particular purpose though. It's salt. It's salty, which is what you're looking for in salt. And what we're gonna do, I use mustard because when I was learning how to barbecue, that's how I learned. And sometimes I'll, swap out for a little something different every once in a while. But usually when I'm doing pork ribs, I'm just gonna put some good old yellow mustard on there. For those of you that are not experienced barbecuers, this has nothing to do with flavor. You're not gonna taste the mustard on your ribs. It is just a really thick liquid that acts as a binder for your rub. Like I said, you don't have to worry about your ribs tasting like a big jar of mustard. It's not gonna happen. But what you are gonna get is a good bond on your rub, which is gonna create a nice, beautiful, flavorful bark on the outside surface of these ribs. And it's gonna be mighty fine. As you barbecue and as you sort of work on your techniques and you find things you like, you're gonna, come up with little combos and different things, and you might even develop your own rub. That's always a good idea to work on. Today, we're using a 2-part system that I've kind of just come to love. This is from Rib Rack. It is a spice rub, and man, it is good. And then we're gonna be using Malcolm Reed's Killer Hogs, the barbecue rub. If y'all haven't checked out Malcolm Reed on YouTube, he can teach you just about anything you wanna know about barbecuing. The guy is good. He's good. But we're gonna do a nice heavy coat. This is gonna provide color, and it's gonna provide flavor, and it's gonna create just a really nice bark. Do not be afraid to go heavy on this. Don't think, oh, it's gonna be over seasoned. It's not. It's gonna be packed with flavor, and then it's gonna be like, I wish I would have made more ribs because I don't want to share these with anybody, not even anybody. And so what I'll do is I will let that set on there, and then I'm gonna put a shake of this spice rub on there, and the spice rub really just adds something nice to it. It really complements pork really well. If I can find a link for this stuff, I got this at a Winn-Dixie grocery store, and if I can find a link for it for you, I will. There will be a link to Malcolm's rub. You can check that out. So we've just got plain yellow mustard. We've got salt and pepper before the mustard. And then we've got the Killer Hogs, the barbecue rub. This is a sweeter type of a barbecue. It's got as much spicy to it. And then we've got some of this rib rack spice rub on top of that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this sit for just a little while and let some of that salt and everything pull just a little bit of moisture out of those ribs so that it gets a little tackier and holds that rub on there. Then I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, so I gave that about 5 minutes of sweat time and everything looked really good. You started to see just a little bit of shine come through that seasoning, and that's how you know it's probably gonna stick for the most part. You can go ahead and flip that rack and get started on the other side. So let's go ahead and get our pepper on there. Now you can trim a little bit of this fat, but today, I ain't worried about it. A lot of people say fat is flavor. So we're gonna have some flavor on these bad boys. There's not as much fat on baby back, so you don't have to worry about it quite as much as like a big rack of spare ribs where you're gonna have, you know, sections that have thick chunks of fat that are gonna create a bad bite experience for you and the people that you cook for. But this, not so much. We got a lot of meat exposed, and so not such a big worry. So I got salt and pepper. Then we come back with the good old mustardo. So got our mustard on there. Now we're gonna go heavy again with the barbecue rub. When you're seasoning with rub, you wanna be elevated above the meat a little bit, and you wanna use nice, even length, spreading swipes, I suppose you would call it. And then what you do is you get to these areas that didn't get as much, shining through a little bit more, and you hit them up individually to make sure everything's good and coated. You want to make sure that you stand that rack up a little bit and get some on the tips of those ribs, because that is a bite as well. One thing I like about Malcolm Reed's seasonings is they always seem to come out of the bottle really well. I don't know if they put something in them to keep them shaking really well, but compared to some other ones, you get a nice even distribution of the rub. Now we're going to go on with the rib rack spice rub. And if you're in a bigger hurry than I am, you can pat this, just lightly pat it to try to press everything on. But I'm gonna let mine sit here for a few minutes while I prepare a few more things, and it's just gonna sweat through and it's gonna bind all that on. So this rack of ribs is ready for the smoker, and we're gonna get them on there in just a minute. The way that we're gonna be cooking our ribs today is gonna be a no wrap, a little hotter, a little faster method of cooking these ribs. So it's not necessarily hot and fast, but it's a little hotter, a little faster. I've done this technique on baby backs several times, and I really like it. I was more of a wrap guy where I was, 2 hours on the smoke, 2 hours in the wrap, 1 hour in the seasoning, or 2-3-1 or 3-2-1. A lot of different methods that you can use, but this method works really good for my baby backs, and it's less to worry about. Just a spritz every now and then to keep the outside of that meat taking on smoke, And that's really all you have to worry about. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk more about that out there at the pit. All right, so we've made it out here to the pit. This is where the real show is. What we're gonna do is we're gonna open this baby up. We're gonna put these ribs in there. We're gonna let them sit in there for about an hour, and I'm gonna come in and spritz with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and that's gonna help the smoke attach to those ribs and help them bind a little bit. If y'all haven't already, hit that like button for me and consider becoming a subscriber to my channel. What I've done in preparation for these ribs is I turned my smoker on, got it going, and then I cranked the temp up to 350 degrees for about 30 or 40 minutes to sort of sanitize my grates and get everything nice and hot in there. And so now what we're gonna do is about 10 minutes ago, I came out here and I put it back on the lowest setting. That's the smoke setting on these Pit Boss vertical smokers. It looks like a 5, but I've been told it's an S. So either the 5 or the S, whichever you prefer, but I'm gonna let this thing run on the smoke setting for 1 hour. 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, something like that. Depends on if I get distracted or not. I'm at home with my girls, so there's a high probability that I can get distracted. But the good news is that you're not gonna hurt anything. It's just gonna give it a little bit more smoke flavor. So let's get this thing open. It's gonna be real easy when you're picking up your ribs because you don't wanna displace too much of your seasoning. So find a good spot to grab it on both ends, get a good pinch grip, and just lift those ribs up. Now, you could lay them in there and just leave it like that, but what I like to do is take them from either end. You take them from either end and you just press in a little bit. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna bind that meat up a little bit, chunk it up, and make them cook a little bit thicker. Now we close her up, be back in about an hour to crank that heat back up to 250 degrees, spray it with a little apple cider vinegar, and man, from then on, this place is gonna be smelling mighty fine for the next about 4 hours after that. So, but we're gonna see how it goes. We're gonna be cooking to an internal temp today. A lot of people, they do the bend test on their ribs. I like an internal temp. I like to get that probe in between those bones, check that meat on the thicker end. And I'm trying to look for around 200, 205 on that internal temp. So we'll see y'all here in just a little bit for the spritz. All right, so we're back out here at the pit and our ribs have been on the smoke setting for an hour now. And now is the time when we're gonna open up, give them a little spray. I've got some apple cider vinegar here. We're just gonna coat them real good, get them shiny again, crank the temp up to 250 degrees, and then we're gonna let it ride until we come back out in about another hour and spray again. So let's have a look. So you can see that they haven't taken on a whole lot of color yet, but they are starting to tighten up just a little bit from just that smoke setting. So you can definitely tell that the surface of the meat has dried, and that's gonna make it harder for that smoke to adhere. So now we're just gonna hit it up. And you don't wanna put so much on there that it runs a lot because the seasoning will run off with it, but you do wanna get it a nice coat. What I like to do is I set mine up not on the bottom rack. That way I can get in here, I can get that bottom side. And that should do it. Smoke is rolling. We're gonna crank the temp up. Hit that baby on up about 250. All right, so the ribs have officially been on the pit for 2 hours. We're gonna pop them open, take a look. As you can see, they have tightened up a good bit and have dried up. So we're gonna hit them again with the old apple cider. And you can use water, you can use apple juice. I said, this is just to help that smoke bind to the ribs. And once again, we're gonna close her down. 1 hour on the smoke, 1 hour at 250 so far. And keep on going. See y'all in a bit. I do not want to pull my ribs if they don't have much bend to them. You want to give them a little more time. Don't think that this is an exact science. You always have to be able to improvise according to what your barbecue is telling you. So make sure that you're paying attention to that sort of stuff and realizing that, you know, if you're doing the 3-2-1 method, that might work most of the time, but you may have a rack of ribs that had a higher fat content, a lower fat content. The animal itself could have been dehydrated at the time of slaughter, who knows, but it can always have an effect. So make sure that you're willing to adjust and adapt, just like we're doing right now, add a little bit more time to it, and we're gonna get the temp that we want, and we're gonna get the tenderness that we want, I guarantee it. And a lot of times one end of the rib rack is gonna be a different temp than the other, just because with most ribs, you're gonna have a thicker end and a thinner end, and you know, all that comes into play as far as how fast it takes to get to temp. Everybody, so we're out here at the pit. We are now at hour, I got 4.5-ish, something like that, and we've hit a landmark internal temp for me, which is right there at that 195, 197-ish mark. We just hit that, and so what that tells me, the way that I do my baby backs, is that it's time to pull them, put some sauce on them. I'm gonna crank my pit up another 50 degrees up to 300, and we're gonna set that sauce real good, get a good set on the sauce, and then we're gonna pull them, let them rest for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna go eat. All right, everybody, we've reached the point in the show where we are going to pull the ribs. They've reached the temp I want them to hit at about that 195, 197 mark. I'm gonna pull them, throw them on the cutting board. We're gonna sauce those babies, put just a little bit more of a flavor profile on them. Then we're gonna put them back in there for about 15 to 30 minutes. Sometimes you can go 45 minutes if the temp isn't where you want it, but we really just wanna set that sauce, get it to get good and thick. That way it sticks to your fingers and your lips, baby, if you know what I'm saying. So let's check them out. Got a good bark on them, and this is a look that you don't get if you wrap. This is one of the things I like about this no wrap method, is you get just a crazy good bark on those ribs. And so what we're going to be doing with these ribs is I am going to reapply or apply my first layer of barbecue sauce, and then I'm going to give it just a light dusting of the rub that I put on there at the beginning, and we're going to let that set, and it's going to be mighty fine. Those ribs are ready. So this is going to be a quick set. You can see all that color on the bottom side from the just non-stop exposure to the heat, non-stop exposure to the smoke. And some people may not like that. Some people may prefer the outside to be a little softer, but as long as the inside is tender, that's all I'm looking for. Don't be stingy with it. Like Leonardo da Vinci. Is that better? Those babies are ready to go back for just a little bit. All right, so we got them back in the smoker. We're gonna give them about 15 minutes, maybe 20 to set that sauce. And we're gonna eat. We're gonna eat, because let me tell you something. It's good. Is it good? All right, everybody, we've reached that magical moment that every barbecue pit master in the world looks forward to. The moment where you cut into the meat that you've been working on all day. You crack open a cold beverage of your choice, and you see what the finished product is all about. And so, with this particular rack of ribs, we did the no wrap method. We cooked at 250 degrees for almost 5 hours, 6 hours, counting the 1 hour on the smoke setting. So it's a long cook, and the time is added because you want to get that extra smoke on the meat. But I want you to look at what we've got here. Just a beautiful, beautiful rack of ribs. The color is amazing. The bark, I'm not gonna lie, I have picked at this a little bit. The bark is fantastic. Just optimal, fantastic. And so we're just gonna do a little bit of this. Just a little bit of cut. Just a little bit of cutting. That's all we're gonna do. Oh my gosh. That is just one of the best sights to see after smelling barbecue all day long. You get to crack it open and you see the juice, you see the tenderness, and you know that it's not gonna be long before you take a big old bite. Oh, I'm gonna have a little bitty bite right here. Man, I hope that y'all copy this method so you can know why my mouth is watering so much that I can barely talk. We're fixing to serve these bad boys up with some rattlesnake beans fresh from the garden, some fresh sliced homegrown tomatoes, and some corn on the cob right out of the garden. Something that I wanted to throw into this video, I know somebody out there probably wondering what sort of sauce was that he was putting on his ribs. Well, I got this at Sam's Club. This is Sonny's Barbecue. I don't know if you've ever eaten any Sonny's Barbecue. I know they're in the Southeast, but this is a great sweet barbecue. It really complements Malcolm's rub with the sweetness and the barbecue flavor. Just works great. And I also wanted to let y'all see the bite because it turned out really nice. Maybe slightly overcooked as to what I typically look for, but just the taste is just phenomenal. Like you don't even notice anything. Just a really good bite. It's trying to fall off the bone, but there's just enough hold there to where it stays in place. All the fat is just rendered down to just a super juicy bite that just, it makes your eyes want to roll back in your head. It really does. Look at that. That's perfect. You get that sweet, you get that little bit of bitter that you get from spraying that apple cider vinegar during the cook. You can taste that spice rub that I put on there, just kind of right there towards the back when it rolls over the back of your tongue. The black pepper, it all sort of comes together. The most dominant flavor is that sweet barbecue flavor. If you like sweet barbecue, this recipe is going to become one of your favorites, I promise. And you can use any sort of barbecue sauce. You know, Sonny's is just really good. And Malcolm's, Reed's, Killer Hogs, the barbecue rub is phenomenal. Highly recommend both of these. You're going to have good results if you try this. I hope that if you give this a shot, that you have similar results, similar success, and that they turn out as good as what I'm tasting right now. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything like that, let me know. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button for me. It helps me out so much with my channel. And please consider becoming a subscriber to my channel. I'm about to start putting out a lot more cooking content because I enjoy that the most. I like all my other review content because I like sharing with you guys, but this cooking stuff really just resonates with me, and I know that you like it too. So we'll see you guys in the next video. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm about tired of making videos. I'm about ready to sit down with a plate. We'll see y'all next time.
I got to eat it. Don't cut it. Don't cut it, Mama.
Now, once again we would like to thank you for watching our top 4 videos, for how to cook ribs on Pellet Grill Fast, better, and more. Hit that like button and that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Also remember that we have links below in the video description that will take you to the Amazon page that you see here, for some amazing pellet grills. And also here, for the fresh meats and groceries that you may want delivered to you as well. Hit that like button and that subscribe button for us, here at Odra, Cooking and Fine Wines.